She was sleeping with my husband, while I was babysitting her kids. And I didn't even ask for money. I just wanted to help. That's what neighbors are for, right? I used to think we had a pretty good life. A cozy 2-story home on a quiet suburban street, a tiny but well-kept backyard where I liked to drink my tea in the morning, and a marriage that, while not exactly thrilling anymore, felt solid, comfortable, safe. Jake and I had been married for 7 years. He worked in sales. Always charming, always with a story. I taught English part-time at the community college, which gave me the flexibility to keep the house running and, I guess, to be the kind of person others relied on. I didn't mind it. I liked being useful. But lately, Jake had been different. He came home later, saying he was working late or just needed some air. He snapped more often over little things, spilled coffee, burnt toast, the way I folded his shirts. I chalked it up to stress. Sales is a cutthroat world, and Jake wasn't exactly killing it. Then came Lauren. She moved into the house across the street in early spring, towing 2 loud 7-year-old boys and a trailer full of second-hand furniture. She looked exhausted from day one, messy bun, bags under her eyes, but she was one of those women who still managed to look put together, like she'd just walked off a lifestyle blog titled Chaos But Cute. The boys, Max and Leo, were a lot. Wild energy, constant screaming, something always broken or being thrown. But Lauren seemed nice enough, overworked, clearly overwhelmed, but nice. One afternoon I ran into her while bringing out the trash. She looked like she was on the verge of tears. "I'm just trying to find a job," she said, eyes darting toward the open window of her house where the boys were yelling at a video game. "But it's impossible when you can't even pee without someone drawing on the walls." I nodded, sympathetic. I didn't have kids, but I could imagine. Or at least I thought I could. Jake got involved almost immediately. He said it was the neighborly thing to do. That night over dinner, he casually suggested I offer to help Lauren out with the boys during the day. "You've got the time, right?" he said, cutting into his steak. "Maybe you could give them a little tutoring, teach them to read or whatever." I remember blinking at him. "For free?" He shrugged. "Just until she finds something." "You love helping people. And we're not hurting for cash." That was true enough. My income was small but steady, and Jake still made decent commission. At least when he wasn't complaining about how slow things were. So I agreed. I told myself it was the right thing to do. I didn't even think about asking Lauren for money. She looked so grateful when I told her, almost embarrassed. "I don't know what I'd do without you," she said, squeezing my hand. The twins started coming over every afternoon. My peaceful little house quickly turned into a mini zoo, but I managed. I made worksheets, read stories, even turned our garage into a makeshift classroom. I told myself I was making a difference. What I didn't realize was that while I was busy playing teacher, snack lady, and unofficial nanny, someone else was playing house with my husband. It didn't take long for my living room to turn into a war zone. Books, crayons, juice boxes, action figures, half-eaten string cheese, all of it scattered across what used to be my favorite cozy rug. Max and Leo were less like students and more like twin hurricanes with matching shoes and no sense of volume control. "Max, sit down, please. We're still reading. I gotta pee." "Leo, don't throw." Crash. I flinched as a plastic dinosaur hit the lamp and knocked it sideways. Again. Every day started the same. I'd set up a neat little learning station in the living room. Storybooks stacked, worksheets ready, tiny cups of juice lined up like I was running a preschool cafe. And every day ended in chaos. Last Thursday, I caught Leo drawing on the wall with a purple marker. A giant, wobbly stick figure with an angry smile, and what I think was a flamethrower. I stood there for a full 10 seconds in silence, blinking. "Is that me?" He grinned. "Nope. That's mommy fighting zombies. I mean, points for creativity?" While I battled the undead version of Lauren and tried to scrub washable but not really marker off the drywall, Jake slipped out the door. "Got some errands," he said over his shoulder, grabbing his keys. "Won't be long." It was always around the same time, right after snack, right when the twins were starting to melt down and my energy was circling the drain. Errands. Always vague. Never urgent. Never helpful. I'd be elbow deep in spilled apple juice and multiplication tables, and he'd vanish like Houdini. One day Lauren popped over during a particularly loud round of, "I'm not doing math and you can't make me." She was wearing oversized sunglasses, carrying a takeout coffee, and, I kid you not, a brand new designer bag slung over her shoulder. Not one of those knockoff ones either. Real leather, subtle gold logo. Definitely not Target. "Thanks again, Mary," she said, breezing through the doorway like she was late for brunch with the Kardashians. "You're a lifesaver." She dropped a bag of goldfish crackers on the counter and was gone before I could even say you're welcome. I stood there, holding a crumpled worksheet in one hand and a juice-stained dish towel in the other, just blinking. I started to wonder, how exactly was Lauren affording $6 coffees, salon nails, and a purse that probably cost more than our car insurance? Was she secretly a social media influencer for single moms? Or maybe she got a job at a spa where they pay in facials and French tips? I laughed out loud at that one, which startled Max, who spilled his juice down his shirt and started screaming like he'd been set on fire. Two little hurricanes. That's what they were. And I, apparently, was the volunteer disaster relief team. There's a certain kind of panic that sneaks up on you quietly, not like a fire alarm or a car crash, more like a slow leak in your ceiling. At first you think, that's probably nothing. And then, one day, your entire ceiling is on your couch. That's how I started to feel about our money. It began with little things. A 20 missing from my wallet, then a 10. A couple 5s. I blamed myself at first. Maybe I grabbed cash and forgot. Maybe Jake borrowed it and meant to put it back. Maybe I was just tired. But when the numbers in our bank account started shrinking like my patience with the twins, I knew it wasn't just my imagination. One Tuesday morning while the boys were busy launching action figures into the air like missiles, I opened my laptop and pulled up our budget spreadsheet. I've always been the numbers person in our marriage. I like things to balance. I like receipts in folders. I like knowing that the electric bill is paid and that we're not going to end up living in a cardboard box. Only now, things weren't balancing. I stared at the screen. Grocery bill, higher than usual. Gas? Way higher than usual. Miscellaneous. Don't even get me started. Jake walked in, sipping coffee, looking perfectly at ease. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice light. "Quick question. Have you been spending more lately? Just seems like we're burning through cash faster than usual." He raised an eyebrow. "What? Are you checking up on me now?" I blinked. "No, I buy lunch, gas, maybe a drink or two with the guys. Is that a crime?" "It's not that," I said slowly, trying not to sound like I was accusing him of robbing a bank. "It's just, we're helping Lauren and we're not charging her anything and—" "Oh come on, Mary," he snapped. "You're acting like I'm draining our life savings. It's a couple bucks here and there." Then he grabbed his jacket and muttered something about micromanaging before heading out the door. I sat there for a long minute, watching the screen, the cursor blinking like it was judging me. Later that afternoon, the boys were building a Lego fort, which somehow involved more yelling than actual construction, and I was trying to prevent them from using tape on the curtains, when Max turned to Leo and blurted out, "Mom said we're not supposed to tell, but Mr. Jake bought us those new Legos." Leo gasped. "Max, you weren't supposed to say that." I froze. The Legos were new. Expensive ones. The big set with the little ninja warriors and moving parts. The kind they always pointed out at Target when Lauren couldn't afford it. I smiled like nothing happened. "Let's finish the castle, boys." But inside, something snapped. Or maybe it just shifted. The first piece of the puzzle clicked into place. And it didn't look good. Jake had bought them Legos. Lauren told them not to tell me. And he didn't think that was worth mentioning? That night, after the twins left and the house was finally quiet, I sat alone in the living room surrounded by scattered bricks and a sinking feeling I couldn't shake. There were missing pieces everywhere. And not just in the Lego set. Jake left in a hurry that morning, something about being late for a sales meeting, though he didn't bother with his usual button down or even a shave. I barely noticed. I was too tired to question it, and the boys were due in 20 minutes. My routine had become mechanical: set out the juice cups, clear space on the floor, hide anything breakable. I walked into the bedroom to grab a sweater and saw the blinking light. His tablet was on the nightstand, plugged in. I didn't mean to look at it. I really didn't. But the screen lit up just as I walked past, and a message preview popped up at the top. Still thinking about last night. You've ruined me. I stood there, frozen. My breath caught somewhere in my chest. I stared at the name. There were plenty of names that started with L. Lauren was just one of them. It didn't have to be her. Except it was. I tapped the screen with a trembling finger. The tablet wasn't locked. His messages were open, and right there, at the top, was a thread simply titled, L. I opened it. There they were. Dozens of messages. Scrolling back weeks. Flirty texts. Laughing emojis. Late-night snapshots. One photo of Jake's hand on Lauren's thigh in what looked like her bedroom. Another of Lauren in lingerie with a caption, "What you missed this morning." And then, like a blade straight through the ribs, I saw it. Lauren, while she's playing teacher with my monsters, I get to play with you. Win-win. There was a moment, just one moment, where my body didn't quite know what to do. I wasn't crying yet. I wasn't moving. I was just there, my husband, my neighbor, while I was folding juice-stained laundry and scraping peanut butter off the carpet. A quiet sob escaped before I even realized it had formed. My legs gave a little under me, and I sat on the edge of the bed, tablet still glowing in my lap, hands shaking so badly I had to put it down. The betrayal hit like a wave I couldn't get out from under. He hadn't just cheated. He had used me to do it. He had turned my kindness into camouflage. And then, ding-dong, the doorbell. I wiped my face on the sleeve of my sweater. Reflex. Automatic. The part of me that still functioned as a host, a neighbor, a woman who didn't just discover her life, was a lie. Ding-dong. Ding-dong. I stood, walked out of the bedroom like I hadn't just had my heart kicked in the chest, and opened the door. There they were, Max and Leo bouncing like pinballs, one of them already halfway through a granola bar. "Hi, Miss Mary," they chirped in unison. I smiled. Not because I felt like smiling, because I had no idea what else to do. The kitchen was quiet. Too quiet. Even the ticking clock on the wall sounded louder than usual, each second dragging like a weight. I sat at the table, hands wrapped around a mug of cold tea I never meant to drink. I stared at the empty chair across from me. His chair? It still had a small stain from when Jake knocked over his morning coffee last month. He had laughed, said it gave the wood character. I had smiled then. I wasn't smiling now. Instead, I started seeing it all, clearly this time. Like someone had finally turned on the lights in a room I didn't realize I'd been stumbling through blind. Lauren started coming over 2 months ago. At first, it was just neighborly chats over the fence. Then her boys accidentally wandered into our yard. Then Jake started suggesting we help. "It's just for a while," he'd said. "She's overwhelmed." "Don't be heartless, Mary." Right. I was the heart. The unpaid, unthanked heart. And suddenly, Jake's schedule got unpredictable. Sales meetings at odd hours, late dinners with clients, new charges on our credit card, expensive meals, gas receipts from places out of town, one boutique I'd never heard of. Then there was that time, I remember it now, when I came home early from the grocery store and saw Lauren slipping out our back door. She looked surprised to see me, said she was dropping off a thank you gift. There was no gift, just a lie wrapped in lip gloss and long lashes. And Jake? He strolled in 5 minutes later, shirt inside out. I hadn't questioned it then. But now? Now I saw every moment for what it was. Every casual glance. Every shared smile when they thought I wasn't looking. Every time Jake insisted I give the boys more hours, just until she finds a job. I was the job. The babysitter. The decoy. The damn fool. And the worst part wasn't even the betrayal. It was that I let them do it. I opened the door. I offered the juice boxes. I cleaned up after her kids, while she tangled herself in my sheets. I wasn't just cheated on. I was used. I ran a hand through my hair and let out a slow breath. No tears this time. Not anymore. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw things. That's what they'd expect. That's what women do in the movies before they get dumped and written off as crazy. Not me. I had been quiet for too long. Too trusting. Too good. That ends now. I would not confront them in a rage. I would not collapse. I would perform. Because they liked shows? Oh, I'd give them one. I stared down at my reflection in the dark tea. My own eyes looking back at me, no longer soft, no longer unsure. You haven't lost, Mary, I told myself. You're just getting ready. You didn't have to go all out, Mary, Jake said, buttoning his shirt in the hallway mirror. This looks like Thanksgiving. I smiled sweetly and adjusted the napkins on the table. Oh, come on, I said, keeping my tone light. You said we should be more neighborly. I figured one big thank you dinner would be a nice way to show some appreciation. You know, for all the help we've given each other. He gave me a small kiss on the cheek. I didn't flinch. The table was set for 8. Elegant dishes, flickering candles, wine glasses sparkling under the chandelier. A small vase of fresh tulips, Lauren's favorite, as she had once loudly told Jake in front of me, assuming I was invisible. I had cooked all afternoon. Herb roasted chicken, truffle mashed potatoes, a salad so pretty it belonged in a magazine. I even baked a cherry pie. Not store-bought, real. Jake loved cherry pie. Too bad. At 6:55 p.m., the doorbell rang. Lauren was first. She looked stunning, tight black dress, blown-out hair, heels too high for someone claiming to be exhausted all the time. She carried a bottle of wine and a grin too wide. Wow, she said, stepping in. You really went for it, huh? Just wanted to make the night special, I replied, taking the bottle. So glad you could come. A few neighbors trickled in, our next-door couple, and an old colleague of Jake's. I'd made sure the guest list was just right. Enough witnesses to make it memorable. By 7:15, we were seated around the table, clinking glasses. Jake raised his wine and gave a half-lazy toast, some nonsense about good friends, good food, good times. I laughed along, then excused myself to check on dessert. Really, I just needed to slip into the living room. Earlier that day, while Jake was showering, I'd synced his tablet to the living room TV. He thought I was downloading a cooking app. What I actually did was load the gallery of images from his secret chats with Lauren. Yes, he had saved them. All of them. Photos, messages, a few short videos. And the best part? I set the slideshow to autoplay. With a delay. Just enough time for one more sip of wine. Back at the table, I returned with the pie, placed it at the center like a crown jewel. You know, I said, lifting my glass, I just wanted to say how lucky I feel. To be surrounded by people I trust, people who've been so good to me, and to each other. Jake grinned. Completely unaware. Lauren beamed, swirling her wine. Across the room, the screen flickered to life. At first, no one noticed. Then, a childlike giggle. Then a moan. Then, Jake's face. Shirtless. Lauren's legs. Text. Last night was perfect. Silence fell over the table like a blanket soaked in gasoline. I didn't look at the screen. I looked at them. Jake's face drained of color. Lauren's mouth opened, then shut. Someone dropped a fork. Oh, I said, taking a sip. That must have been Jake's vacation photos. I held their gaze. Smile still perfectly in place. Dessert? Anyone? I raised my glass once more, the flickering candlelight reflecting in my eyes. I just want to say, I began, my voice calm but clear, how grateful I am for having such honest, kind neighbors, some of whom even share their husbands. Laughter rippled through the room, a nervous, uneasy sound. And then, as if on cue, the television flickered. The slideshow resumed. First came the messages. Last night was perfect. Can't wait to see you again, and thanks for the money. Then the photos, too intimate to describe, yet impossible to ignore. A damning parade of evidence. The room went deathly silent. Lauren's eyes widened in panic. She clutched her wine glass like a lifeline. Jake lunged toward the remote, fumbling to turn off the screen. "Stop it," he hissed, but the damage was done. I took a slow step toward the door. The weight of every gaze followed me. No one said a word. I paused, glanced back once, and said with quiet finality, "All right, Jake. Now you can sleep with her whenever you want. Just know this, you'll be sleeping in your car." I walked out, leaving the room wrapped in stunned silence and shattered trust. 2 months had passed since that unforgettable dinner, the one where I served truth on a silver platter. I was living alone now, renting a small apartment not far from the old neighborhood. My days were spent teaching private students, finally focusing on the work I loved without any distractions. Jake had tried to call, text, even show up once or twice, but I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. Lauren was left all alone too. Word got around that Jake had moved out, the money had dried up, and Lauren was desperately searching for a new nanny. The twins, still wild as ever, unmanageable little hurricanes. One neighbor whispered to me, "Lauren's looking for help again. She's struggling." I smiled, a small, satisfied smile. Good luck to her. But it won't be me. Helping people is great. It's what makes communities thrive. But not when those people help themselves to your husband. Some lessons are bitter but necessary. And as for me, I was finally free.